All right, guys, so here it is, man. This is the iPhone 16e. Now, yes, I remember everything I said about this phone. Who's it for? The price is too high. What is Apple thinking? Well, I also said that if I get this phone in for review, you see it on this channel, I did not pay for it. This is, in fact, a review unit sponsored by TechAdayGiveaway.com. I appreciate them hooking it up. This is the 128 gig black version, 6.1 inch display. I could read these specs off, and a person who's not really tech savvy or a person who is tech savvy will listen to some of these specs and be like, wow. But then if you see it's an iPhone, you'll be like, oh. Some people are just like, ooh, I got to stay with Android. But I typically use an iPhone every day alongside my Android phones. And honestly, I told you, this isn't a phone that I would purchase. I could have probably bought this phone myself for a couple $100 with all my credits and discounts and stuff. But I just don't have a use for this, seeing as though I have the Pro models already. But I will keep an open mind because I did say in those videos, I'll review it and it's probably going to be a great phone. It's just, who is it for? So let's see what the people who actually bought this phone's experience is. Because again, I have Pro models. I have the small version of this. This is the 16 Pro Max, and I have the 16 Pro Max, the 16 Pro, and this is my famous 13 Pro Max that'll never leave this office. It is just that good. Yes, it's fired up. It works. And I use it from time to time because it has a SIM card. So we're going to crack this open and we're going to get this thing going here. But 8 gigs of RAM, 4,005 milliamp hour battery, A18 processor, 48 megapixel fusion camera. Basically, it has the capabilities to be very powerful and do a lot. 48 megapixels at f1.6 aperture with a 26 millimeter wide by default. The front is a 12 megapixel at f1.9, 23 millimeters wide. So you can do vlogging with either one of these. Stereo speakers. I mean, we know this. We'll get just the rundown, but there's a few things that it just doesn't have. It doesn't have Wi-Fi 6E. It still has the same screen, even though they're labeling it. Ready for this? I'm going to ramble off this very long name. Super Retina XDR OLED. HDR10, 800 nits of brightness, and on the normal usage, and then 1200 nits peak brightness. If you're outside, that's the boost that you'll get. The resolution is 1170 by 2532, which gives it a 557 pixels per inch density. So that's pretty good. I mean, when you're thinking about this and you're looking at this, you're saying, wow, that's pretty doggone good. Yeah, you're right. It is pretty good. But I just, I don't retract anything I said. I can review a phone with an open mind. I review phones that are $12. It doesn't matter. If it's good, it's good. And this phone right here is probably a solid phone. And I'm probably going to find out that it is a good phone. And, my impressions of this will be my impressions. But I think right out the gate, my dislike is just the price. That's typically the way it goes down for some devices and how this is brought about and who is Apple targeting with this. So let's get this thing going. This has a lot of phone for someone who's coming from an older generation that wants kind of the newer design, and we're going to get into it. So not really going to do an unboxing. I'm just going to crack this open, and you're going to see me using this coming up here just in a second. All right, guys, so here are the front cameras, or here is the front camera on the iPhone 16e. Now, this quality shouldn't be surprising because, well, no one said they didn't have good cameras. It's just that price, and we're going to get to that at the end of this video. But yeah, this is the quality that you can get from the front camera just sitting in this orientation right here. So I'm going to switch over to the rear and then I'm going to take some photos. Then I'm probably going to go outside. Let's just test these cameras out. All right, so here are the rear cameras. And I think these cameras are probably going to do pretty good. This phone definitely will probably do well. I actually have seen more people buying this, posting that they bought this phone online. Not regular consumers. I've seen content creators saying that they bought it. Shout out to Drew Lips. He buys every phone just about like I do probably, but he's got it. Shout him out. I saw his stuff on it. So I was intrigued. And so since I was able to get a review unit, I'm appreciative. I'm going to review the phone like I would do any other phone. But in this initial video, I'm just kind of showing you a little bit more because I actually want to use this phone and check out the battery life and, check out a few other things on it. But this is the rear camera. So we're going to go outside and shoot some content as well. Now, one thing to note real briefly here is this phone is missing a few things that are on the other iPhones. I have the 16 Pro Max. I have the 16 Pro. Still have the classic 13 Pro Max. But this phone is missing portrait or cinematic video. which is why you don't see me shooting in cinematic video. But other than that, I think I just shot that clip, and then I thought, wow, this footage is simply amazing. It is a very nice set of cameras, but I didn't expect anything less. Because, once we can get past the price, which nobody really can, it's tough to get past the price of this phone. I think that's the biggest failure of this phone, because of so many other iPhones that are available that offer so much more spec-wise and in performance as well. Getting a 15 over this is kind of like, why wouldn't you? And if you have a little bit more money, I wouldn't get the $899 version of this phone for 512 gigs. I would get a Pro model. I would just get a Pro model or a 16 or a 15 with more storage on it to match that price range. But after getting past the price range, if you just use this phone as is, also, I think a lot of people are going to probably get this on carriers. A lot of you guys say, hey, Jay, this will be free on carriers. I know I was on carriers for years with like subsidized phones and stuff like that. So I personally, if I just needed a phone, I still wouldn't shoot for this phone on a carrier. I mean, like, I'd want some kind of big discount. Because they gave away 16 Pros free, as long as you stayed with them or whatever on your carrier. And, this phone coming out, even though it's lower in price, if they're giving it to you free, so I'll dead the free conversation, because I don't know too many people that are like still financing phones on carriers. I don't know hardly any. But if that's the choice, then okay, yeah, you have a variety of phones you can choose from that you could possibly get free. And if you just wanted to try this phone, you're not getting a bad phone. Not at all. Because there's different types of people that are buying in different price ranges. So it's up to you to determine, hey, I'm getting this phone because of whatever reason I'm getting it for. But I just think personally, I wouldn't be rushing out to buy this phone on a carrier to lock myself in with it. I just wouldn't do it. But forgetting about price for a second, this has actually been a really nice phone. I've been using it for a little bit, recording these clips for you. And I had to come back again on this section right here to tell you that it doesn't have cinematic video. And that's something that's really important to me. Would have been nice to have. It does have portrait photos and things like that, which I'll show you when I take some photos. But overall, these cameras perform great. I'm not using any kind of microphones or anything, sitting in the living area, and it's just gonna be a good set of cameras. It's very nice. So now, let's move on. So one thing I want to point out is this phone does not have portrait shots for things. It just keeps saying face not detected or person not detected. So I'll keep trying, but you can get some portrait shots if you get in close on things. But other than that, portrait shots are of people, not things. All right, guys. So this phone is decent, man. It's an iPhone, right? It's an iPhone, and some are going to ask, should I buy it? I don't know. I think the quality of this phone has really good. The cameras is where I always go to first, because by today's standards, all we do is post things on social media, and we take pictures of ourselves and things like that. Not saying everybody does that, but that is the majority of the world now. So you're going to need a good camera. And so Apple has done right by consumers by bringing out this nice basic phone with a pretty decent camera. Is it the best at taking photos and pictures? Probably not. My first impressions of it, though, I think the battery is going to be solid on here. I mean, I've been using it for several hours now. I got it early this morning. I set it up and been using it. And it's just, it's going to be really good battery. This might be some of the best battery I might be using I might end up using on an iPhone to date. And that includes my iPhone 13 Pro Max. The screen is not a high resolution. Let me play something here. The screen is, I'm saying that because a lot of people are saying it's still 60 hertz, and you're right. I don't know why Apple chose to take this route, but let me play a video for you so you can see what you will be getting, just in case you decide to buy this phone. Not everybody's going to buy it, but folks, there are going to be people who buy this phone. So here's the screen at full brightness. I'll go ahead and crank up the volume in just a second. The microphone is behind the camera, so you won't get too good of a feeling of how the phone sounds. But in person, I can tell you this thing is plenty loud. Most iPhones have really good speakers, and this one right here is no exception. These are the wheels that I think are definitely, the 18-inch wheels are nice. They're not as nice as these, though. The 18-inch wheels make this car really look like, ugh. So the screen is beautiful. Again, this is full brightness. It's a good looking screen for sure. You will get your video fix and your movie fix and your media consumption down, and you'll be okay. This is a 6.1 inch display, so it's going to be more than enough for most people. Some people still say that this is too big of a screen. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there in the community that don't want a phone with a phone this size. And, you know, it is what it is. That's why if they would have focused on making this the size of the iPhone mini and then lowered the price a little bit, this would have been the perfect upgrade from the iPhone SE. But they're not really talking about the iPhone SE when they talk about this phone. So, you know, I say to Apple, like always, come on, don't always be about just getting a bank or a check. But I know that's what they have to do as a company. So if they would have done an iPhone mini and called it the size of the iPhone mini and called it like, you know, the iPhone SE 2 or 3 or 4, whatever the next version was, I think it would have been a better impact on calling this a budget-friendly phone. This is Apple's budget-friendly phone. And $599 starting price for this 128 gig, folks, it is not worth it to me based on other iPhones you can get. And I don't even want to bring up Android phones. You got the Nothing phones that just dropped, the new joints. All of the Nothing phones are probably going to be a better value to a consumer than this. But I always bring up Apple phones because if a person is wanting to stay in the Apple ecosystem, Apple's trying to promote this phone right here as their entry level or budget or whatever. But they still sell the other phones. The 15 is like, it's incredible. The 16 is incredible. So price wise, this phone is a major fail to me. But the phone itself, folks, it's actually a really good phone. It's okay. I remember when I didn't have a unit and I said, hey, if I review the phone, you know, hey, if I can get a review unit, great. But I think the phone will do well. I just don't think it's worth the price when comparing it to other Apple phones. And I still stand firm on that. This isn't so much a waste of money, but I will hope that Apple would bring this in at like $399 or something like that at some point or another. It's going to drop in price if they end up bringing out another version of this, but it's only going to drop like $100 probably. You know what I'm saying? So I think the consumers deserve an actual pocket-friendly iPhone. That's a new generation. You know, you shouldn't have to buy a previous generation to get Apple's latest innovation. And I'm saying this is Apple's latest innovation. So, you know, 60 hertz display, it is a fail because you've got Android phones that cost less than half of this and they have a 90 hertz display. But this this video is for Apple people because Apple people seem to be a little loyal and don't really want to know if something's a good deal as long as they like it. And that's okay. You can shop like that all you want to, but I don't think I could fully recommend this phone to someone who is wanting an iPhone. And just because Apple's saying that it's the latest and greatest, I don't think I could do it. Not at $600 to start, and $900 for the 512 gig. I just don't think that's right, Apple. But nonetheless, like I said, folks, this is a great phone. I'll follow up again. I'll compare it to some other phones probably, but in the end, you have to make your choice yourself, whether you think this is a great deal or not. I don't think it's worth $600. I don't think the majority of the world thinks it's worth $600 who's paying attention. And you're gonna hear comments like, you should just get this instead if you want an Apple iPhone. And that's the way I feel too. But I actually have the phone in, and if you take price out of it, this is a good phone. It's a good phone. It's missing some features that Apple should have on here. Like MagSafe is, when you think of MagSafe, you think iPhone. Why wouldn't they have MagSafe on here? Why are they still doing 60 hertz displays? I mean, this phone has great battery too. I know it is. I only had it for a little bit, but I can tell this is going to be phenomenal battery. For the things that I've been doing, some phones will be drained down to at least 15 to 20%. This one drained 5%. So this is going to be nice. It's your man Jay. Wait for more videos before you pull the trigger if you want to. But if you want it, pull the trigger. Don't take my word for it. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.